Hey up, welcome to the Cannon Hall Farm podcast with us, the Nicholson brothers, farmers Rob and Dave.
We're two Yorkshire farmers who, along with our dad Roger, brother Rich and the rest of our family, have turned a farm with 2 sheds and a barn into an award-winning tourist attraction.
You've seen us on the telly, you've seen us live on Facebook, and now we're here with our very own podcast.
Across this series, we'll be looking at some of the key moments that got Cannon Hall Farm to the place it's at today.
On today's episode, we're going to look back at some of our favourite moments of Cannon Hall Farm on TV.
I'll never forget Mad saying, "This is my favourite room. I have fathered 6 of my 7 children in here." And I knew we were in trouble then. So that was obviously his love nest. So, you've done a few of these now, Dave. Would you call yourself a seasoned podcaster?
Not at all. No, let's face it. All we're doing, we're sitting chatting, reminiscing about old times, and just enjoying ourselves.
So, as we record now, we're entering summer. What have you been up to this week?
Well, I've got all the wool sacks, taken them to our neighbour Gordon, and he's going to run them to the mill, and hopefully we're going to get a cheque. It's not going to be a big cheque because wool's not worth a lot, but it's going to bring a little bit more income into the farm.
So the sheep are sheared.
Yep.
And at one time, a farmer could rely on that wool cheque for the fleeces to pay for his whole rent for the year.
It was a good earner.
Times have changed, and we get less than £1 a fleece now.
Yeah. I've saved 2 sacks back because we're going to have that washed, processed, and spun into yarn, and we're going to sell that in the farm shop and online as well.
So we're going to cut out the middleman and see if we can sell direct to the consumer?
Only with the best lamb's wool. The rest of it we've sold on, but I'm hoping it's going to be a nice product.
So a bit of diversification there.
Well, we keep doing it. You keep having to, try something new. We did it with the alpaca wool, and now we're doing it with the sheep's wool.
Well, as summer approaches, I get that little bit of a twitch in me legs and my arms, right? It's nearly show time.
All right.
So I've been priming some of our star animals to get them in tip-top condition for Honley Show, for Emley Show, Penistone Show, and the Great Yorkshire Show. So there's a lot to look forward to.
Yeah, I mean, it is a bit nerve-wracking. When you're going into that ring, especially for the first time, it does, you're nervous. Are you doing the right thing? Are you holding the animal correctly? Is the animal going to behave for you? I've been dragged across a field while I'm training a cow at college, and it's no fun. I had this show animal. We all had to pick one, a pig, a sheep, or a cow. I thought, I'll go for something big. I'll have a beast, right? Took it out, and it was fine walking away from the barn. As soon as I turned it round, it ran for home and took me with it.
And did you hold on?
I held on every time, but it took me with it.
Yeah.
My mum and dad came to watch, because it was like the show day. And I could see him laughing. And my mum said, it was just like watching your father.
Well, we've got Murphy the Highland Bull, we've got Sultan, we've got the Dutch Spotted Sheep, and I'm particularly excited about some of those. I think they've got a really good chance. What's your favourite show animal? What would you look forward to most?
Well, I like showing the Highland Bulls, and also I really enjoyed trotting the little the foals last year.
But that's not going to happen for you this year, is it? Tell us why.
Well, I'm having a little operation, hernia operation, and hopefully 3 months down the line, I'll be back to me fit self again.
So we need help from others, so watch this space. We've got some people lined up who can step in and maybe replace you.
Am I replaceable, Rob?
Well, we will find out in due course.
Hey, well, you might have a go.
I will have a go.
What's your animal that you quite fancy?
I'm taking Coco out round the ring. I will have a go with the Dutch Spotted Sheep. And I'm looking forward to all those things. I also enjoy the broadcasting aspect of it, because telling the story about our animals and what we're up to is a big part of our job now. We have people who follow us from the length and the breadth of our country and further afield, and it feels like an obligation to make sure that and an enjoyment and a joy to make sure that they see what we're up to, how the animals have behaved, how they've done, whether they've won a rosette, and whether they've brought credit to the farm.
We're hoping to showcase a lot of, well, not just our animals, but other people's. You know, I'm sure there's a lot of characters out there that hopefully we could introduce to, you know, the wider audience.
Right, enough of our day jobs. Let's talk about something that's become more and more part of our work for the last few years.
What you mean, being TV superstars?
Z-list TV stars.
I'll accept that.
So, David, could you ever have imagined that awkward 16-year-old who couldn't order a drink at the bar without blushing, who couldn't say hello to a girl without having to put his head down, could ever be on national television, sometimes live?
I've got to say, Rob, definitely not. Even years later, when we, you know, because about 7 years ago we did Springtime on the Farm, that first ever, you know, springtime programme. Now, I were petrified. You know, even getting a sentence out, I thought, crikey, I've done all right there. Just one, two words. You know, it was so tough.
We've always done little bits and bobs, haven't we? Regional television, we've had some lambs born, we've had a baby alpaca, and, you know, little things. And they've always been very useful to the farm and enjoyable to do. People would text you, say, oh, I saw you on telly last night. But we've never had anything like we've had recently.
No, I mean, starting with the springtime programme, and there were a lot of tough parts about that. The comms didn't work. You ended up with a big pair of earphones on and a big mic.
Felt like a football reporter on Match It Day.
Yeah, I remember I was lambing a sheep, my earpiece fell out. I picked it up, I thought, well, I can't put that back in my ear.
Your ear would be buckier than the lamb, I think.
And I said, Rob, I can't hear anything. You're gonna ask, if they ask me a question, you're going to have to just tell me.
We just had to guess, didn't we?
Exactly. And it wasn't live, it was as live, but they wanted the first take every time. We had a live audience of 200 people, which I hated because they were all watching you and listening to you. It was a tough time.
I think the way that Springtime came about, the opportunity came about, Paul Stead, who runs Daisy Beck TV Company, who was responsible for the Yorkshire Vet, he'd had quite a lot of success with that programme. He got the chance to make a farming programme. We were recommended as someone that might be suitable to be a horse farm for it. Thankfully, they chose us. We got the opportunity to showcase our animals, to showcase Barnsley, to show people what we can do. But it was a nerve-wracking start, Dave.
It really was. I mean, I didn't mind the one or two people being there catching the odd birth. And I remember Kelvin Fletcher came and, you know, we filmed with him. He was a good bloke, you know, good laugh, made you feel at ease. And we got some good footage with Kelvin. But what really petrified me was the live audience, 50 or 60 people, staff-wise, that came with the production, all looking at you. You know, sometimes you just want to be invisible, don't you?
There was a pressure about it, wasn't there? Because obviously if you said it wrong, then they all had to retake, do it all again. If you said it wrong again, then the pressure mounted. And each time it went wrong, obviously the more responsible you felt and the more you could see everyone was going to be late that night because of your misdemeanours.
Well, it's like this, you know.
Our misdemeanours, not just yours.
Well, it was, you know, even after that, when we started doing This Week on the Farm, sometimes it went into 15 takes.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know, it were difficult.
There was one day in the height of lockdown, and I got no sun protection whatsoever. And it got to take 15, and you just couldn't come out with the form of words that you found acceptable,
and
that they found acceptable, and they could have ticked it off and gone for lunch.
Rob, you just do it. Just let him do it, and let's get on.
Because bearing in mind, we filmed this remotely. There were Jules down in Hereford with his cameraman. It was all during lockdown.
Ellen were in a garden.
Yeah. And it was all very difficult, you know, and one person who did it wrong meant that all those 4 lots of people all had to start and do their bits again. and to actually nail everything just right seemed to take a long time.
It was hard work.
A blazing hot summer's day. I've always said I got 3rd-degree burns because of you that day.
Exactly. And I'll hold my hand up to that one, but there was some really fun times as well, just working with Ellen and Jules. They're a top team. Ellen is, I've never really seen her get anything wrong.
Well, let's just rewind a little bit, right? We did Springtime in 2018.
Yeah, with Adam Ensign and
Lindsay Chapman.
Yeah.
Right? Great fun, a one-off programme, and we thought it would always be a once-a-year gig if we were lucky, and we were happy with that. We got little chances on the Yorkshire Vet, meeting Peter Wright, Julian Norton. That was a big thrill because they were very encouraging. They passed on valuable expertise, valuable tips on how to look after the animals while you're filming, making sure that the animals always came first. And I'll never forget that because, the animals will always be our first priority when we're filming. But then, we thought that it's a once-in-a-year thing, odd little bits and bobs, that's really nice. But lockdown happened. What happened then?
Well, there was 6 little mini stories that hadn't been finished.
This is on the back end of Springtime.
Exactly. Literally everything's filmed, and there's just a little bit to go at, and Paul's all for throwing the can in. We can't finish it. It's a shame, but it can't be done. You said, hang on a minute. We'll get Dale to film us, and we'll finish the programme ourselves. And that's exactly what we did. But, we followed that script. I've got to say, credit to Dale. He was a good director. And we did one take, and then I said, let's do one more take like we would do for Facebook. A little bit more light-hearted, a little bit more like ourselves, and that's what Channel 5 liked.
We should just say, Dave, that Dale is currently behind the camera. He's a former farmer, now responsible for all the great stuff that goes out on our social media, and he is a producer, editor, and a first-class camera person.
Well, he's picked it up like a duck to water, hasn't he? He's properly embraced it. It's what he wants to do.
So lockdown happened. We managed to finish that Springtime. What was the next thing? Something sort of momentous happened from our point of view.
Well, because the Channel 5, they have a panel. They sit down, they watch everything, they give feedback. Now, the feedback was they really enjoyed what we did. They liked the lightheartedness of the way we did things. And they actually said, we want 4 episodes of This Week on the Farm, with a bit more of Rob and David.
So we were catapulted then to visit other farms, to have a go at watercolour painting, to do all kinds of things that were way beyond our comfort zone. There'd be certain challenges involved. There'd even be some foreign travel to look forward to.
Yeah.
It really was a game-changing thing for the site, for ourselves, for our own personal development.
Well, it was a massive advert for us as well. We were showcasing the farm, our animals, and eventually, extra people would come through the doors and enjoy the facilities.
So what was your favourite bit of This Week on the Farm? Those 4 episodes turned into 6. Those 6 turned into 12. By the end of that year, we'd done 32 one-hour episodes of television.
Well, I really enjoyed the Christmas specials. You're doing something, it just feels warm, it feels nice, it feels lovely. I can tell you one thing, though, which I absolutely hated, and that is when we went and we had to sing in front of a choir, right? It's all right for you. You can sing a bit. But for me, I've got one level, and it's baritone, it's low. And, God, I didn't enjoy that.
So This Week on the Farm went really well. Ratings were good. Channel 5 were happy. But then they threw us a curveball.
Yeah. You mean Summer on the Farm, live TV.
Exactly.
Frightening. But the way I got round it, I thought, it's only like going on Facebook, right, with bigger cameras and a few extra people around you. So that's how I had it in my head, and just act yourself.
I don't think the channel ever liked to let things just drift along in the same way. They're always looking for a new twist, a new angle. And they thought, let's make it live,
Yeah.
And I thought, oh gosh, that does sound daunting. But once you got into the habit of doing it, It just felt like having a chat with Helen or Jules. I mean, you knew there were no second chances. You knew that anything that you did wrong was going to be there for all to see.
Yeah.
But in some ways, it was a challenge. It was a chance for us to show that we could do something beyond what we'd done before.
And you know, they seemed to be pleased. You know, I remember with Ruth when we were talking about it was like these old drinks.
Ruth the historian.
Yeah, these old drinks, and we all had to try it. This one was called Lamb's Tail or something like that.
Oh, yeah.
And I thought, I've got to put a positive spin on this. So, you know, Tim Bilton were there as well. And I had a big drink of it, and it tasted god awful. It was one of the worst drinks ever, but I thought, you know, it's TV, it's live, smile and just get on with it. And Tim's going, God, do you enjoy that? He says, you must have had some bad pints around Barnsley if you like that. But it was, you know, it was good fun.
So we did the live stuff. We started off doing summer on the farm. We did winter on the farm. We once did Friday night on the farm. We filmed all the way through the night. But the things got really interesting when they started to send us abroad. We needed our passport. Thankfully, it was in date.
Yeah.
We got the chance to go to Jersey. Fresh out of lockdown. We hadn't been abroad for years.
You thought,
what could go wrong?
You thought, I remember you're in the airport, your hands clapped together, you thought this is a holiday.
Yeah.
You know, and...
breakfast pint was the first thing we did.
We weren't filming at that, you know, next day, so it was all good. We had a little drink, got on the plane, landed, and me, you and Tim Bilton, they put us away from everybody else.
Just for context, Tim Bilton, chef extraordinaire, great pal, but he's a monster when it comes to drinking.
He is.
I thought, we're on holiday, what can go wrong? And I went toe to toe with him.
Rob, you've got to remember though, what did Lee, the cameraman, say to you? And he was in charge of the shoot at the time. What did he say to you before we left?
Well, he was serious producer.
Yeah.
He said, don't let me down on this. It's cost a fortune. This needs to be good. We were visiting a tea plantation in Jersey.
Yeah.
You know, the most northerly tea plantation that exists. We were excited to go. We hadn't been away for ages. There were two lovely ladies, weren't they? The ladies that ran the tea plantation. But we'd had a monumental night out the night before. We had an Indian meal.
We did.
And it was a really, really lovely night. I woke up the next day. I did a live broadcast from Jersey.
Yeah.
And I didn't feel too bad.
We'd had no breakfast, nothing to drink. We stopped off at the garage for a few bottles of water. But the taxi driver, he took us on the scenic route, didn't he?
What should have taken 10 minutes took half an hour. Right. Luckily, I had a plastic bag, and it was a flimsy, thin plastic bag, but it was very useful. It was
my plastic bag.
It was very good about it in the sense he allowed me to be sick in this plastic bag on our way to the tea plantation. By the time we got there, I'd filled it.
Yeah.
We arrived, there's two ladies there, you're shaking hands with them, and I just couldn't come out from behind the car. I carried on being sick for 20 minutes. I expressed sincere apologies. I apologised to the crew. I apologised to anyone who would listen. I was mortified. I just couldn't believe I'd been so unprofessional.
You know, you'd have thought if you were a betting man, that'd have been me.
50-odd-year-old, right?
Yeah.
50-odd-year-old, and I'm doing stuff like that.
No,
So,
I think the green tea, Rob,
Yeah.
brought you round. We went to Jersey to pick green tea. Then we put it in a wok.
We brewed it, didn't we?
Yeah. And then we dried it, and then it was ready to actually brew it and drink it.
So I survived Jersey. I enjoy the memories of it now, but I didn't enjoy it for part of the time we were there. The next big trip for us after that was going to Sweden, and that was a real treat, wasn't it?
Yeah, Sweden was great. It was -22 in Karunia.
Yeah.
We stopped at the Bishop's Arms.
But before we got there, right, what did we go and do? We went to buy Albert.
Ah.
Albert the Ram.
All right. I thought that we were afterwards.
No, we went to Sweden.
Yeah.
Right. Can you remember what we got up to?
Well, it was a lot of fun actually. Reindeer sledging, husky sledging. We stopped, had a little meal in a kind of wigwam type tent. It was a bit of a survival VT on what you need to do in the Arctic Circle to stay alive.
The commissioning editor had sent notes to say, I'd really like to see, you know, the extreme weather. We'd like to see the Northern Lights if possible. We'd like to see all the things that people in that region get up to. But there was nothing really sorted. We were having to arrange things on the hoof a little bit. We met a big ex-hockey player called Mads, who he was responsible for the team of dogs, wasn't he?
Yeah.
And we went to stay at his complex, but they'd had some kind of falling out with him, hadn't they? And the only way that he would take us out on the dog sleds was if we stopped in
the yurt,
in his Mongolian yurt.
Yeah.
Talk us through that.
Well, the yurt was nice. It was lovely. You know, there was a little fire in the middle, very cosy. The toilets were quite a distance away. And at 3 o'clock in the morning, when there's 80 huskies outside howling, right? It sounded like a pack of wolves, didn't it? The snow's coming down.
It's minus 20.
Yeah. Now,
maybe minus 25.
Now, I seem to remember, I don't know if I want to say this, but the sleeping bags that were provided.
Why don't you want to say it?
Because it's a little bit bad, isn't it? You know, they smell of BO. There was a strong smell of BO on those sleeping bags.
Yeah.
So what we used the skins that are covering the chairs of reindeer hide.
Yeah.
And we slept under those.
The reindeer skins were less smelly than the sleeping bags. Weren't
Exactly. They were. I've never smelled a smell like it, but it was still an interesting, nice night.
Well, I'll never forget Mad saying, "This is my favorite room. I have fathered 6 of my 7 children in here." He says. And I knew we were in trouble then. So that was obviously his love nest.
Yeah.
And we managed to spend time in his love nest, thankfully, without him.
He must have sweated a bit on them sleeping bags, that's all I'm saying. He passed me a box of matches. He said, "There is only one match left. If you don't light the fire, we will starve."
He was a first-class chap.
Yeah.
And he did that race to Alaska.
What a bloke.
I'll be honest, I used you as a human shield when we went dog sledding.
Yeah.
Do you want to expand on that?
Well, what happened, Rob, is they asked us to go on an expedition with the dogs pulling us. Mads was on the back, steering and all the rest of it. You were sat behind me. Then all of a sudden, 2 dogs down, I forget what it was called now, it starts lifting its leg.
It was monkey.
It wasn't, yeah, it was monkey.
No, it was monkey.
Yeah. So it starts lifting its leg, and I'm thinking, has it gone lame?
It's pulled up lame like an horse.
Anyway, all of a sudden, this dog poo starts flying out of it. Other dogs are kicking it up in the air, right? And I can see it coming towards me. Your head goes down behind me. You used me as a human shield. And I'm putting my gloves up in front of my face, so, you know, it don't get me. And then I'm looking on my gloves, so I've got little bits of dog poo all over me. But it's that cold. He just brushed it off.
Yeah.
So, you know.
I can see it now. That dog, I thought, oh, what's wrong with it? And it wanted to stop and do its business, but the rest were dragging it along. So poor thing were just being shook like that, and its poo were coming at you like it was like a video game. And I was ducking and weaving and using you as a barrier. And but yeah, that was a highlight for me.
That was your highlight. That was my low point.
Talk about the stew that we made when we got to the survival point.
Well, that's when we used our last match, isn't it?
Yeah.
To light it. And he kind of gets his knife out of his boot.
Yeah.
And he starts chopping up the veg with it.
And the meat.
And the meat.
Yeah.
With the same knife. Then he wiped it on his trousers.
Yeah.
Put it back into his boot. And I'm thinking, do I really want to eat that? Do I? But I was hungry.
But we did eat it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it was nice. Yeah. It was good.
Sweden was a brilliant trip. Loads of fun. Great people, and just the best place I've ever visited.
And then we got the opportunity of a lifetime to go to Texas.
Yeah, and I think the opportunity of a lifetime is exactly right. Rob and Dave's big Texas rodeo, we spent nearly a month travelling the length and breadth of what is the biggest state in the Union.
And the people were fantastic. You're from the UK? Come on down, come to my house. You know, they were really, really friendly.
That accent has really rubbed off on you, hasn't it?
Yes, sir. Surely has.
Yeah. No, I took great delight in introducing ourselves as TV stars from the UK.
No, you said, we're movie stars.
Oh,
from
movie
the,
stars,
from
that's
the
it,
UK.
yeah.
They didn't know,
Yeah,
did they?
yeah. There was a big thing about the UK. There was an affection from them towards the United Kingdom, wasn't there? And that was really, really warm.
Yeah, I loved Texas. I loved the people. It was such a great trip. You know, I've never drunk as much beer and eaten as much fried chicken in my life.
Yeah.
You know, it was a top laugh.
And we were away there with 6 crew members who we're firm friends with. The WhatsApp group that we shared during that trip is still active today, isn't it? We communicate most weeks about something or other, and we made a bond and we made memories that I'll never forget. Anyway.
Yeah, I mean, Rob, I'm going to pick your favourite part of the trip, right? The auction house. When we were auctioning off those long-horn cattle, that was terrifying, but a lot of fun.
250, 50, 50, 5, 5, 5, 5, 5, 5, 60, 60, 5, 5, 5, 5, 5, 5, 7, 7, 7, 7, 7, money! You know, there was all that kind of thing. We were learning off Doak, who was a big pal.
Yeah.
We're still in touch with him to this day. You know? And it was a treat, a nerve-wracking treat.
It was a good day. I remember I had to follow you on. You got the crowd behind you. I thought, you know, why couldn't I go first? Get it over and done with. There's something about going first I just like. Yeah. But it was good fun.
Yeah. I do think though the highlight of my trip was going to South Fork. Right. I was a big fan of Dallas in the 1980s, early 80s. JR was a bit of a hero. I know he was a bad man, but I did like him. and to lie on Sue Ellen's bed, right, was a personal highlight for me.
Well, to hold the gun that shot JR, right, that was the most watched programme on the planet.
Who shot JR?
Sue Ellen's sister.
Name?
Can't remember.
Kristen,
that's it.
Yeah. But for you, right?
Yeah.
You carried a torch for Lucy, didn't you?
No, I did.
No, seriously, it really
No, I really
Lucy,
didn't.
and she's quite glamorous. We to the point where we went to her bedroom, didn't we, in South Fork?
We did.
And you looked at some of her soft toys.
Look, Rob.
And you could smell her perfume.
We also went into Bobby's bedroom.
No, but you know that as a young lad, Lucy was a girl that you liked.
No. I like Victoria Principal.
No, Lucy, I think was the one for you.
Well, let's just leave it there because it's going the wrong way.
So anyway, David was in Lucy's bedroom. He was looking at her soft toys. It was all very, you know, it was all perfectly appropriate. But for you to be there that day was a personal highlight. Sure.
Now, aren't you forgetting something? Because you were going on and on about this Lucy thing. And the lady that was showing us around, she went, she's actually a friend of mine. Would you like a date?
Yeah, she did.
Right?
Yeah.
So she was actually fixing me up.
Poor old Lucy.
With Lucy.
Lucy was between husbands, wasn't she?
Yeah, and I went, look, I'm happily married. Yeah, we're good.
But there, it could have all come true for David there. Lucy was nearly dateable for him.
Yeah, well, that'd have been a good story on the old podcast, wouldn't it?
So, we went to South Fork, we did some auctioneering, we did a whole manner of other things. Yeah. But the steak eating competition was that, I think that was your finest hour.
Well, I thought I'm going to do well with this. One thing I can do is eat.
Yeah.
Right. But I think you topped me. You know, I got so far.
It filled up on bread.
I got so far, right, and I just had to go outside for a quick walk, and my tummy were rumbling. And what I did, I turned my mic off, right, because I could see Lee in the window filming me, right, and I let out the biggest fart you've ever heard in your life.
He broke wind. I'm really sorry.
Right.
It's a family show.
Absolutely, a monstrous fart. It was a massive steak. What else could I do? And then I put my mic back on, and Lee came, went. Why did you do that?
That shows. It shows he's a media professional now. To turn your mic off before breaking wind just shows that you're all about you.
Lee wasn't happy though.
No.
He was not happy. He wanted that on film.
Yeah.
But I didn't want it on film.
Yeah.
And why am I talking about it now? I don't know, but I am.
It's on film now.
Yeah. Now, there was another chap with us.
Yeah.
And he actually ate the lot.
He did.
What's he called?
I can't remember. Jose. Yeah. And he was a fit fellow, wasn't he?
Oh, he was ripped.
Yeah, you know, I don't know where he put it, but he genuinely ate the lot. It was quite gristly, wasn't it, the meat?
Well, he didn't eat the fat. You know, you couldn't eat it because it was that. It was like the guy actually said this steak is like eating a tire.
It was nothing like the steaks that we have in our farm shop.
No.
Shameless pun.
But he said it's like eating a car tire. It's absolutely tough as an old boot.
All that talk of food's making me hungry. I've got some questions here for you. Are there any moments that didn't make the cut? Oh, plenty.
There's hundreds.
We've filled a floor or two, haven't we?
We certainly have. There's all sorts of stuff that's gone out, and we always thought, well, why haven't they put that in? But because the stories are so condensed, that day's filming has to be 4 minutes. So something's got to go.
I suppose with the live programmes, it takes a lot of that out of the equation, doesn't it? Obviously, it saves on editors.
Yeah.
Right, who is your favourite, Jules or Helen? This is tough. And you're going to have to commit here.
Oh, dear.
I'm not allowing any sitting on the fence.
I can't say.
Come on.
No, I can't say. I like them both the same. It would be wrong of me to pick... No, seriously, I know...
Well, who do you think's best at the job then?
Helen. Only because there's no outtakes of Helen. There's plenty of Jules, plenty of me, and plenty of you.
Well, I think
Helen.
they're both very, very good, and I like them both the same.
Oh, yeah.
Final question, Dave. What's the overall score right now on the Rob v Dave challenges?
I think I'm winning on the live stuff, but you were winning on the This Week on the Farm.
Really?
I think so.
I think from me, the personal highlight of that is apple bobbing.
Yeah.
I'd take you on any time at that.
For me, it was axe throwing, because my ligament left the bone in rehearsal on my right arm.
Anyway, we'll move on.
And I had to throw the axe with my left.
What's your personal...
And got a bullseye.
What's your personal TV highlight?
Apart from getting the bullseye, I think going to Texas, riding that quarter horse and shooting black powder, pistols at balloons. That was I love that. That was great. How about you?
Personal highlight would be getting the chance to showcase all our animals on national television over a number of years. It's just been a dream, and welcoming people to Barnsley who've never heard of it before.
That makes me sound really shallow, doesn't it?
Thanks for listening to this episode of the Cannon Hall Farm podcast.
We'll be back next time to talk about another important moment in our family farm history.
And don't forget, you can read more about our story by buying our books, Springtime at Cannon Hall Farm, Living Our Best Lives, both available from the farm shop or by visiting www.cannonhallfarm.co.uk. That's my plug.
And mine is, don't forget to follow us on your podcast provider, and don't forget to leave us a review.
We'll be back next time with another episode of our podcast. But until then, I'm Farmer Rob.
I'm Farmer Dave.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Did you have to bring up Lucy?
You loved Lucy. You had a crush on her.
Well, she was quite nice.
And being in her bedroom was the highlight of your life.
Yeah. Lucy.